I had never run into this New York stuff before. I was spooked. I said, "Forget about it." He was going through contortions. I was in his town. I had a thief with at least 7 beefs on her. I was out of the $3,000. I might have gotten croaked. Later, I knew it was stuff. New York stuff. In later years, I figured it out. He maybe had always hated me because I had more education than he had. A week later, Helen got busted on 7 counts. I signed the hog over to her lip. She got 5 to 10. I should have wired a bomb to the starter before I turned it over to the lip. A stud told me Joe had fingered Helen. He almost ruined me. He tapped me out, got my thief busted. He literally ran me out of town, broke and with no whore. I heard whore catching was good in Detroit. I took my last $10 bill and caught a Greyhound. Detroit was the promised land for pimps, all right. The town was teeming with young, fast whores. The local pimps was soft competition. I was walking, but I was sharp as a Harlem sissy. Anyway, these whores were a different breed than the ones back in the city. They were gullible, and a fellow didn't have to play his heart out to cop them. The first package I copped was a beautiful 17-year-old green-eyed version of Pepper. Her name was Rachel. I was to keep her 13 years. My next package was a huge, black, dangerous Jasper named Serena. In addition to being a whore, she ran a fast sheet setup for a dozen whores. They tricked out of her joint. Within 8 weeks after I hit Detroit, I was cruising the street in a sparkling new 48 Fleetwood. I had a fat bankroll. Within 90 days of the Serena cop, I had copped 2 more young broads. A week later, a small-time pimp came to town from Rhode Island. He had a beautiful young whore with him. He was jealous. He followed her in the street. I stalked her. He forgot to follow her. I stole her. I had her several months when the town got shaky. The rollers forced Serena out of her joint. I put her in the street. Then I heard about a small town in Ohio, Lima, that was jumping with good tricks and wide open. I could possibly open up a couple of houses there. My luck was soaring. With my pad rent and a pad piece for the girls, I needed a tighter setup to cut down my nut. My skull was whirling as I drove the hog to pick up my stable in the street. They got in. I tossed their scratch in the glove compartment. Dawn was breaking as the big hog scooted through the streets. My 5 whores were chattering like drunk magpies. I smelled that stink that only a street whore has after a long, busy night. The inside of my nose was raw. It happens when you're a pig for snorting cocaine. My nose was on fire. The stink of those whores and the gangster they were smoking seemed like invisible knives scraping to the root of my brain. I was in an evil, dangerous mood, despite that pile of scratch crammed into the glove compartment. "God damn it! Has one of you bitches shit on herself or something?" I bellowed. I flipped the wing window toward me. For a long moment, there was silence. Then Rachel, my bottom whore, cracked in a pleasing ass-kissing voice. "Daddy, baby, that ain't no shit you smell. We been turning all night. Ain't no bathrooms in those tricksters' cars we been flipping out of. Daddy, we sure been humping for you. What you smell is our nasty whore asses." I grinned widely, inside, of course. The best pimps keep a steel lid on their emotions. I was one of the iciest. The whores went into fits of giggles at Rachel's shaky witticism. A pimp is happy when his whores giggle. He knows they are still asleep. I coasted the hog into the curb outside the hotel where Kim, my newest, prettiest girl, was cribbing. Jesus, I would be glad to drop the last whore off. I can get to my own hotel to nurse my nose with cocaine and be alone. Any good pimp is his own best company. His inner life is so rich with cunning and scheming to outthink his whores. As Kim got out, I said, "Good night, baby. Day is Saturday. I want everybody in the street at noon instead of 7 tonight. I said noon, not 5 minutes after or 2 minutes after. At 12 sharp, I want you down. Got it, baby?" She didn't answer. She did a strange thing. She walked into the street around the hog to the window on my side. She stood there looking at me for a long moment, her beautiful face tense in the dim dawn. Then in her crisp, New England accent, she said, "Are you coming to my pad this morning? You haven't spent a night with me in a month, so come back, okay?" A good pimp doesn't get paid for screwing. He gets his payoff for always having the right thing to say to a whore right on lightning tap. I knew my 4 whores were flapping their ears to get my reaction to this beautiful bitch. A pimp with an overly fine bitch in his stable has to keep his game tight. Whores constantly probe for weakness in a pimp. I fitted a scary mask on my face and said in a low, deadly voice, "Bitch, are you insane? No bitch in this family calls any shots or muscles me to do anything. Now take your stinking yellow ass upstairs to a bath and some shut-eye. Get in the street at noon like I told you." The bitch just stood there, her eyes slitted in anger. I could sense she was game to play the string out right there in the street before my whores. If I had been 10 years dumber, I would have leaped out of the hog and broken her jaw and put my foot in her ass. The joint was too fresh in my mind. I knew the bitch was trying to booby-trap me when she spat out her invitation. "Come on, kick my ass. What the hell do I need with a man I only see when he comes to get his money? I am sick of it all. I don't dig stables and never will. I know I'm the new bitch who has to prove herself. Well, goddammit, I am sick of this shit. I'm cutting out." She stopped for air and lit a cigarette. I was going to blast her ass off when she finished. I just sat there staring at her. Then she went on. "I have turned more tricks in the 3 months I have been with you, and the whole 2 years I've been with Paul. My pussy stays sore and swollen. Do I get my ass kicked before I split? If so, kick it now because I'm going back to Providence on the next thing smoking." She was young, fast, with trick appeal galore. She was a pimp's dream, and she knew it. She had tested me with her beef. She was laying back for a sucker response. I disappointed her with my cold overlay. I could see her wilt as I said in an icy voice, "Listen, square-ass bitch. I have never had a whore I couldn't do without. I celebrate bitch when a whore leaves me. It gives some wormy bitch a chance to take her place and be a star. You scurvy bitch, if I shit in your face, you gotta love it and open your mouth wide." The rollers cruised by in a squad car. I flashed a sucker smile on my face. I cooled it until they passed. Kim was rooted there, wincing under the blizzard. I went on ruthlessly. "Bitch, you are nothing but a funky zero. Before me, you had one chili chump with no rep. Nobody except his mother ever heard of the bastard. Yes, bitch, I'll be back this morning to put your phony ass on the train." I rocketed away from the curb. In the rearview mirror, I saw Kim walk slowly into the hotel. Her shoulders were slumped. Until I dropped the last whore off, you could have heard a mosquito crapping on the moon. I had tested out for them. Solid ice. I went back for Kim. She was packed and silent. On the way to the station, I rifled the pages in that pimp's book in my head. I searched for an angle to hold her without kissing her ass. I couldn't find a line in it for an out like that. As it turned out, the bitch was testing and bluffing right down the line. We had pulled into the station parking lot when the bitch fell to pieces. Her eyes were misty when she yelped, "Daddy, are you really going to let me split? Daddy, I love you." I started the prat action to cinch her when I said, "Bitch, I don't want a whore with rabbit in her. I want a bitch who wants me for life." You have got to go. After that bullshit earlier this morning, you are not that bitch. The prat butchered her. She collapsed into my lap crying and begging to stay. I had a theory about splitting whores. They seldom split without a bankroll. So I cracked on her. Give me that scratch you held out, and maybe I'll give you another chance. Sure enough, she reached into her bosom. She drew out close to 5 bills and handed it to me. No pimp with a brain in his head cuts loose a young, beautiful whore with lots of mileage left in her. I let her come back. At long last, I was driving toward my hotel. I remembered what Sweet Jones, the master pimp who turned me out, had said about whores like Kim. "Slim," he had said, "a pretty nigga bitch and a white whore are just alike. They both will get in a stable to wreck it and leave the pimp on his ass with no whore. You gotta make 'em hump hard and fast to stick 'em for long scratch quick. Slim, pimpin' ain't no game of love, so prat 'em and keep your swipe out 'em. Any sucker who believes a whore loves him shouldn't have fell out of his mammy's ass." My mind went back to Pepper, then back even further, and I remembered what he had said about the Georgia. "Slim, a pimp is really a whore who has reversed the game on whores. So, Slim, be as sweet as the scratch, no sweeter, and always stick a whore for a bundle before you sex her. A whore ain't nothing but a trick to a pimp. Don't let 'em Georgia you. Always get your money in front, just like a whore." I was on the elevator riding to my pad. I thought about the first bitch who had Georged me when I was 3. She had flim-flammed me out of my head. She would be old and gray now. If I could find her, I would sure get the bitch's unpaid account off my conscience. I snorted a couple of caps of cocaine. 2 hours later, I took a yellow. I fell asleep. When I woke up at noon, I knew I had to make a move. Rachel's parents were trying to cross me. Kim might split back to the sucker. My whole stable except Kim were local girls. A pimp is asking for trouble when he doesn't move his action away. Control is easier and tighter away from the familiar setting. A girl in strange surroundings depends more on her man. She needs his advice and guidance more. Girls copped in smaller towns have to be moved fast. That night, I went to Ohio. I put down the foundation for the move. I rented 2 houses and furnished them beautifully. I made contact with a fellow who collected the oil for the heat. I got the okay to go at a C a week for each house. I moved my whole family there. I was just in time. A month later, Detroit folded and the lid slammed down. There was a good dope connection in the new town. I started capping H with my C. I'd mix them and shoot speedballs. When I went to bed, I got sound sleep. I seldom had those bad dreams. I got hooked on H. It didn't worry me. I was getting long scratch. I was 30 years old. For the second time in my pimping career, I could see solid success and lots of long green in my future. How could I know that elephant bitch Serena would get jealous? She brought the whole greenback house of cards crashing down around me. I missed the murder rap by a fraction of an inch. The fraction was in Serena's chest.